I'm not talking about people who are struggling to have babies, but I'm talking about the people who are choosing to not for sake of convenience.
Yeah.
You are robbing yourself and your future. Yeah, you might not want kids at 20, maybe even 30. But when you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, and all you've done your entire life is work
And focus on yourself.
and save money,
Mm-hmm.
to leave it to who? As a new mom, there's just so many factors to take into account. I was anxious, I was depressed, I was all the things. And I felt like I don't know what to do with these feelings, mostly because I felt guilty for having them.
I have always had a curiosity about home birth, but it feels impossible because of how uncommon it is. So I want to dive a little deeper into what are your appointments like with a midwife? Let's uncover a little bit of the mystery.
Yeah.
Because it's not uncommon for those who have no experience with this to think a midwife is a witch.
Yeah.
So let's unpack some of the mystery here on a midwife and her process.
Yeah.
And what that looks like from you as a pregnant mom. We have abortion, infertility, miscarriage, and successful birth all in one room right now amongst two people.
This is Baylee.
And this is Kate.
And you're listening to Walking Defined. We get to do this again.
I know.
It's just such a blessing.
It blows my mind. I mean, we're past launch, right? Way past launch. We're kind of in the meat of it, right? As far as releasing and this being a true venture. It's not this brand new idea. It still has this new freshness still in our hearts, which I'm so grateful for. But doing a podcast and letting that be not just this hobby.
Yeah. It's just kind of a routine now.
Yeah. It's so amazing. But I really hope I never get over the, hey, this moved me. Hey, this touched me, because we've said it to the individuals who have reached out to us to say that. But I definitely want to say it here. It's not us.
No.
It's not us.
If you asked us 4 months ago if this would have been our life, no.
Right?
No.
That feels terrifying, honestly.
So scary. This is just a testament so much to, if God calls you, he will equip you. So walk in faith.
Yeah.
Step out, and he really will give you the power to do what he's calling you to do. Because this is not a talent thing. This isn't something that we feel like we were meant to do from the beginning. Like, he has equipped in every way.
It's not like I woke up one day and was like, I would be really great on a podcast.
Yes.
No, I'm a dork.
Yeah. And I hate the sound of my own voice. Like, how annoying.
Oh, man. Well, being equipped is such a great segue for where we're going today, because I have told in my testimony episode, if you haven't watched that yet, not because you should go learn my story, but because you should go see where God has taken my story, and it gives a little more context to where I'll have a vantage point today. But talk about being equipped, because today we're going to be talking about pregnancy and birth.
Yeah.
And when I walked through early stages of that, I allowed the lie that I wasn't equipped and that I was the only thing to equip myself to be the reason that I didn't carry that through.
And that, I think, is a lie that's propagated so often in the pro-choice movement. Is like, had this woman had this baby, she would not be where she is now. Her career would have been ended. All of these total lies. They're total lies from the enemy, who loves I'll just say it, child sacrifice.
Mhm.
He loves child sacrifice.
They are. Yep.
And so any lie that he can get in there with, and I can speak to the fear of being pregnant with somebody's baby who you're not married to. There was definitely some fear within my relationship of being pregnant. And so I can definitely speak to the fear and the I just want to make this right feeling, or I want to, I guess maybe not make it right, because I don't think that maybe you can speak a little bit more into this, but I don't think that we conceptualize abortion with making something right. It's not a righting of the wrong. It's more of like, how can we cover this up?
It's taking it into your own hands, taking it into your own control. And so while I totally see where you're going with making it right, I think the piece there is in your own belief, in your own way, it's all self, making it right to yourself.
Yeah.
And when we step back long enough to see the wrong, we see the right was a facade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually finishing up a book called The Dragon's Prophecy. And while it's an end times focus, really the author is showing how the specific prophecy that he's focusing on has a direct correlation with radical Islam, and bringing to light how radical Islam is actually the modern Philistine. If you track their lineage, that's where they come from. So of course they're persecuting and attacking Israel. They always have.
Yeah.
They are their mortal enemy. Granted, they don't necessarily know that, and they're not acting trying to fulfill a prophecy unto themselves, but they are a vessel for the enemy. They're an instrument in his game. So he brings up this concept that I've always kind of had a touch of an understanding on, but he really put some good words to it that helped me grab on a little bit harder. That we know that the enemy he's a mimicker. He doesn't make new ideas. He imitates. And he's imitating the Lord, but he does it in reverse.
Yeah.
So the picture that this author draws for us is that the enemy is an anti-mirror.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a mirror, but just as we look in a mirror, everything's flipped.
Yeah.
So what is ultimately evil is disguised as good.
Yeah.
And that is his tactic.
Yeah.
And I absolutely believe and can say it from true experience that is what abortion is. It's an anti-mirror. Because you think you are doing good by some of the justification is, I can't justify bringing a child into this world in the state that it's in. It's not fair to a kid.
Or if I'm not married, I can't bring a child into a relationship that is wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in you trying to right a wrong, I think that's exactly what that's showcasing is that anti-mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because children are a blessing from the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's not discrediting the terrifyingness of pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because it is.
And I will just speak to pregnancy. The fear of pregnancy outside of marriage is dreadful.
Oh yeah.
The news of pregnancy within marriage is absolutely beautiful. It is the most exciting thing that you will ever experience. It's getting that positive pregnancy test, is going in for that ultrasound and seeing that life inside of you. Absolutely beautiful. And so there are two very different sides to a coin there. When you do it in the confines of marriage and the way that God designed it, it's joy-giving, it's life-giving.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
I wanted to start this episode off for the possibly brave men who would click on a pregnancy and birth episode. I wanted to start it off with some advice for you so that if later on when we start into the actual birth stories of my children, you can turn it off if you want to.
They are worth listening to as a man because they will give you better insight.
They are, yes.
So it is valuable information even if you yourself will not experience birth in your life.
Yes.
But some advice for dads, future dads.
One thing that I will say just from experience is the first time that a woman is pregnant is there's a lot going on. There's body changes, there's hormone changes, there's all kinds of things going on within a woman. And to just be a cheerleader surrounding like her body changes. Most women that I've talked to that are having their first baby, they don't realize that the weight is not just in your belly. It goes to all different parts of you.
Your fingers, your toes, like things that you never thought could be bigger.
Your nose, like everything is just, it's all puffy. You're retaining water, and it's all by design. God multiplies your blood within your body so that you can sustain life. And you're gaining weight in other places so that once that baby is born, like you have the ability to feed that baby and the weight can then, be transferred to your baby. But it is hard, especially that first time around. You especially coming from a place of like, I've exercised at least 3 times a week since I was 12 years old. So for the last 16 years, I have been on an exercise routine, even through pregnancy. But it was so hard to look in the mirror and to see like, oh my gosh, like everything is bigger and there's no way to change that. And it's by design. It's a beautiful design. God created it absolutely perfectly, but it is so hard to look in the mirror and to feel comfortable with what you're looking at.
But this is the first time that any woman, not just you, hasn't had any ounce of control over what their body can look like. Because even those who struggle with weight, and that is a pain point of you walking through your day-to-day, you still have control over what that is. And this is the first time that there's nothing there.
There's nothing. I mean, your body's just going to hold on to weight. It does not matter if you eat a very low amount of calories, which I don't recommend in pregnancy. You're supposed to eat more. So it's very difficult to walk through that, especially the first time, because you're like, is this going to come off? Am I just like, is this change going to stick, or am I going to be able to get back to my normal, feeling body? And so I'd speak to that in husbands. And my husband has told me many times, like, you don't have any idea what it feels like to look at your wife who's carrying your child. Like, it's beautiful. And most husbands feel that way. Verbalize it. That's my number one advice to new dads is verbalize how beautiful you feel like your wife looks when they're carrying your child. That will go so far. For your wife feeling beautiful. So that's my number one. Number 2 is make sure, you guys have to be on the same page as far as, providers go, how she wants to go through labor, how she wants to go through pregnancy, all of those things. But make sure you're very encouraging in knowing that she can do what God has equipped her to do as a woman.
That you have confidence in her abilities because it's God who made her able.
we'll get into my birth stories, but I remember when with my first baby, we did everything conventional. We were in the hospital with him, and it was an adventure. But second time around, I decided I wanted to do midwife and have my baby at home. And there was some questions of like, do you really think that you can do that? And just know that you as the husband are your wife's biggest cheerleader, and she's going to feel like she can or cannot do something based on how you feel about it.
Yeah, how you're projecting your confidence or lack of in her.
So that's my number 2 advice for dads is like, be her biggest cheerleader. This is your opportunity to really pour into her your confidence.
I have one as well for dads. So the perspective of the conversation that I get to bring is not only a heart that transitioned from not seeing the value of life at conception, but also the perspective of faithfully waiting and praying for a child. Nate and I have been in infertility for 6 years now, our entire marriage. We started trying, or what I would like to transition that to is we started praying for a baby as soon as we got married. While we can try in our own might, really what I think a Christian trying to conceive is actually asking the Lord for his blessing. And we've been doing that for 6 years now. And my advice for dads in an infertility situation is express how you are praying for this too. Because it's a very lonely thing if you're not communicating openly with your spouse about it, with you and your wife continuing to have conversations about what it feels like from each side, you'll allow a unity even in what can be the most isolating thing between the two of you. And so the more you express to her how you are praying for this also, the more that she will not only see that she isn't alone in these prayers, but she will feel the weight come off of her in that this is all my fault. Because there is a level of ownership that we as women hold in pregnancy and in receiving a child, because it's our body that is being prepared for it. While there is a piece of you that is being prepared as well, and your heart and mind are being prepared, we feel like a failure when it's not working in us. And so express your prayers to her, express how excited you are for this to happen, and be cognizant that she is feeling guilty that it hasn't happened yet. And acknowledge that and help her to know that you don't blame her.
Yeah. I'm sure that there is some level of you kind of feeling like your body is failing in some ways. What in the world? Why is this not happening?
Yeah. When I'm not thinking soberly and recognizing that it's all God's timing and I have nothing to do with the timing at all, I can fall into that place. And the first 3 years of infertility for us were the hardest on me because I was so closed fist about it. I was so holding on to it, thinking that I had any dictation of the timing of when it would happen, how it would happen, and what would happen. And it wasn't until my hands started to open for me to say, God, I trust you.
Yeah.
And really releasing that trust over to him, that it stopped burdening me. So Baylee, when we started preparing for this conversation, she was very candid of, I feel a little bit weird that we're going to have a pregnancy and birth conversation when you can't get pregnant. She didn't say it like that. But being able to have this conversation is a testament to where he's walked me through in my infertility, because I can truly sit with joy and excitement for the future without a burden for what has not come.
Yeah.
And I have so much joy in where he has where he has us right now, not just hope, but just getting to, wow, it's so precious and such a blessing also that we get to have 6 years of marriage of just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
Some families don't get that, and that's a blessing too.
Yeah.
So
it is.
My perspective is much different. Those who walked with me through the first 3 years of my marriage can definitely attest to how much it was on my mind and how hard it was on my everything, because I allowed myself to turn myself into a lab rat and just try to do everything in my own power. And it was all consuming and none of it was positive. It was really, really hard. And that's not where God wants us, because this has been about trust.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I ask him, when are you going to do it, Lord? He always says, why don't you trust me?
Yeah.
You don't need to know when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, the Lord put it on my heart a couple days ago to do this episode. And while I was like, oh yeah, that would be fun, at the same time I was worried that this might come across insensitive, or that, I have not walked in any sort of infertility. I've actually walked in sort of the opposite.
Super fertility.
Yeah, I hear of somebody getting pregnant. I'm like, oh, me too. But
it's like contagious.
It is. And so I didn't want it to come across as like being insensitive to the struggles, because it's a widespread struggle right now across the board. I've had so many friends in my life that are struggling with this. They're trying to have a baby, and so I feel so deeply for that struggle, because why us? Why have we been blessed with 4 children? I can't answer that, because we are so imperfect. So often my husband and I look at each other like, do you think we're doing this right? Like, we don't even know.
Every parent ever.
And so for God to bless us with 4 babies, without even trying, is it's hard to even wrap your mind around in this world of so many people struggling to have babies.
Yeah.
So Lord, like, just thank you so much for that. And I wanted it to not come across as maybe insensitive.
I think that's so beautiful that he put us on both sides of that table, that we get to sit here and have a conversation coming from both opposite ends of the spectrum. It's so cool.
And I love it. I love it that we're best friends and our lives are so different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. Actually, you just reminded me. You just said, it's such a blessing.
It is.
Some people who are not perceiving it that way would see it as a curse. And not that it is. I'm not making acknowledgement to that being the case.
Yeah.
But there is a different perspective there that people would look at 4 children and go, oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the amount of people in the grocery store. We had just had our 4th baby, and I would go to the grocery store, and literally I would hear it 15 times in the grocery store. Wow, you got your hands full. Or like not in a chipper way. Like It was more like, oh, I feel for you. Like it's this it is so sad to me that people in our society look at, I mean, my family's not really that big. It's bigger than like the normal family, but
now in modern times, yes, because the average is 2 children per household, right?
Yeah.
But you look at 100 years ago and you are small.
I have a very small family.
Yeah.
But it's just so wild to me to walk through a grocery store and have so many people like focus in on you.
Yeah.
And be like, wow, like this must be, you must live in a terrible life. And that is
the burden.
so sad.
Yeah.
Is it hard at times? Yes, of course. Anything worth doing is hard at times. But it is the most joy, and I'm going to cry. It's the most joy you will ever have in life. There's nothing more worthwhile than having children and raising them to know Jesus. There's nothing more worthwhile. And so for the families out there, I'm not talking about people who are struggling to have babies, but I'm talking about the people who are choosing to not, for sake of convenience.
Yeah.
You are robbing yourself and your future. Yeah, you might not want kids at 20, maybe even 30, but when you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, and all you've done your entire life is work
and focus on yourself
and save money, to leave it to who?
Yeah.
You've got nobody coming after you. Where is that money going to go? All of your life's work has been for nothing. You will wish that you had chosen to have babies, and it's not too late. Yeah. There's lots of kids out there that need a family.
Yeah.
So if you are a person that chose to not have kids, and maybe it is too late to have biological kids, go find one.
Yeah. And I hear some people saying, well, you don't know how expensive adoption is. And that's what keeps people from adopting, right? Nothing is too hard for the Lord. If you want to adopt, the Lord loves adoption. We ourselves are adopted into his family. Pray about it, and he will open the door if it is his will.
I have a friend who got a call from a friend of a family member of a distant cousin to come take her baby. Do you think that God opened those doors? Of course he did. Yeah. So if God has a child out there that could be placed in your life, that you could love and that you could raise, he can open any door.
Yeah.
So pray into that.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, it's worth it. It is so worth it. With that said, I know that there are probably some moms listening to this that are going through rough times because there are seasons in raising kids that are hard. And maybe you're in a postpartum season. I know that with my first baby, we'll jump into his birth story. So like I've said, I come from a background of fitness, and I also have an extremely high pain tolerance. And that's not me like
bragging,
tooting my own horn. I just do. I do. I haven't cried because of pain for a long time. I can't even really remember the last time I cried because of pain.
I can attest that this is true. I witnessed one of her births, y'all.
So I went into this first pregnancy. One more disclaimer I want to say. When you're pregnant, you're not disabled. Do stuff.
Your mind is your limitation.
Oh my goodness. And exercise during pregnancy is hard because you're already so exhausted, but it's so worth it in the sense that it will make labor that much easier. I've heard it said that pregnancy can be, or labor can be compared to running a marathon. Who in their right mind would run a marathon if they've sat on the couch for the last 9 months?
Yeah.
Like, you need to do stuff if you are going to enter into labor and have control of what is happening to your body at that point. So exercise.
And
that would be
There's two parts to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
One, it conditions your body, but it also conditions your mind.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And having control
Endurance is a mind thing.
Over your pain and where you allow pain to take your mind is so important.
So
all the time, not just in labor, but yes. So there's a 2-part reason to exercise there. You're not just conditioning your body. You are disciplining your mind.
Yes, for sure. So anyway, I came into pregnancy this first time and I was exercising 5 days a week. I was like, I owned pregnancy. I was like, oh, so prideful. So prideful. And so I went into labor with that same mindset of like, oh, I got this. I have such a high pain tolerance. This is going to be no big deal.
I'm going to be one of those girls that just sneezes.
And yeah, baby pops out. It's beautiful. My makeup stays done. We're good.
Honestly, you're describing every first-time pregnancy.
So I was done, like most women are, at the end of your pregnancy, and my baby was 5 days overdue. So I went in for that last appointment, and my doctor was like, well, I'm going out of town in 3 days. I'm going to Hawaii. So why don't we just schedule a induction for tomorrow? And I, of course, being the first-time mom, thinking I want this baby out of me. So I was like, yeah, that's great. So we went in 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, and they started me on Cytotec, which is like this little pill that they stick up there, and it's supposed to like ripen your cervix is what it's called. TMI. This might be TMI. If you're a man listening to this, just saying, might be TMI. Anyway, it started some contractions, but they weren't really very consistent or they weren't really doing much. So they were like, okay, well, we're going to put you on Pitocin. And so they started me on Pitocin right away. Contractions started getting pretty intense. So I was like, okay, well, this is awesome. My body is ready to have this baby. Well, they kept upping the dose, and it was on this little machine that was like supposed to be pumping Pitocin into me. Well, it started getting really intense, and they never shut the machine off, and it kept upping the dose of Pitocin. And finally I said something of like, is that still pumping Pitocin into me? For those that may not know, it's a synthetic hormone of the natural hormone oxytocin. So oxytocin is what kicks off labor basically naturally. So this is a synthetic form of that. So it is pumping this into me to induce contractions. And by the height of my labor, so mind you, I went into this thinking this is going to be no big deal. I want to do this completely naturally. No, I don't want any epidural. No, nothing. Nothing's going to come into my body. At the height of this thing pumping Pitocin into me, it was an hour-long contraction. There was no break in between. I was contracting so hard, and I can attest to the synthetic hormone contractions being, I can't even put into context how much worse, how much harder these contractions are versus a natural labor contraction. It was literally, I thought I was going to die. It hurt. It was so insane. Like, and you go into this place in your mind of like your out of body experience. It's like nothing I can even explain.
Yep.
And so I'm like in this place where I'm not even thinking, like I'm just literally primal at this point. And I'm contracting so hard. And I asked them if I could have an epidural. I was like, I need an epidural now. And the nurse that was in there at the time, she was not very nice. And she goes, well, let me check you. And so she made me like lay on my back, which was the worst. And she wanted to check me. So she checks me and she's like, you're at an 8. I wish somebody would have been like, it'll be like 20 more minutes, because when you're at an 8, you're in transition. You're in the point where your baby is like about to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody said that.
They
but
just assumed you knew what that meant.
Yeah. This lady was like, I don't think you need an epidural. Like, but she said it in a very condescending way. And I was like, lady, yeah, this is not going to be good. You better just get the epidural.
About to be not Christian up in here.
So the anesthesiologist comes in, and as he's preparing like my back for the epidural, he goes, has she been contracting like this the whole time? And they were like, yeah. And he's like, she has gotten no break. And I remember hearing that and being like, justified.
Yeah.
Because it was agony. It was so incredibly hard. And so if I was ever to get induced again, I would just get an epidural right away. Like that, this is not medical advice.
Yes.
But I can say that was the hardest experience I've ever gone through in my entire life. So I get the epidural. 20 minutes later, baby's born. He's here. And I felt like such a failure. So if there's any moms out there that are struggling with their birth not going the right way, just know it did go the right way because your baby's here. But know that like that feeling of failing is not just you. It definitely is a feeling that you carry into motherhood. And because of the circumstances and the advice that I had taken in getting induced, there was nothing wrong with my baby. There was no reason for me to get induced.
It was out of convenience, huh?
Yeah. And so
not for you. The
no.
advice that was given to you was out of convenience of the advice giver.
Right. And because I was in a headspace of like, I really want to be done being pregnant. It was so easy for me to take that advice and to just be like, yeah, let's just do this. But I carried that into postpartum so drastically because I felt like if I failed in even the act of giving birth, how can I be a good mom? Because I didn't even do this the right way. And so, not only that, we also moved 2 months after our oldest was born to a place where I didn't know anybody, and I was still on prenatal vitamins, which I have a gene malformation, the MTHFR gene. And what they have found is prenatal vitamins with that synthetic B vitamin in it is actually poison for somebody with an MTHFR gene malformation.
I've never even heard of that.
It causes depression, severe depression.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was still taking those vitamins as they tell you to take postpartum. And I was struggling with postpartum depression, rage, all of the things.
Okay, I have to stop you.
Yeah.
I hear some moms' ears perk up.
Mm-hmm.
How did you discover that you had the gene malfunction? Or what did you call it? I'm sorry.
Malformation.
Malformation.
So there's an actual test you can get that will test you for that gene malformation, or it's gene... I don't know if it's malformation, if that's what they call it, but it's like a mutation. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Mutation. So you can get that tested. But it's also like basically, if you have any sort of autoimmune disease type things, you can probably be pretty sure that you also have this gene mutation.
Okay.
But yeah, go get it checked out, especially if you are somebody trying to conceive, or if you're pregnant or whatnot. But I was struggling so much postpartum. One, my baby did not sleep for the first 15 months of his life. I mean, he was a pretty tough baby, and he was very unhappy all the time. He basically just wanted to be held all the time. And so it was just a really tough season of life. And I really believe that a lot of that stemmed from my birth experience, in feeling like I failed with that birth. And it's a pride thing. It definitely was something that the Lord had to work out of me, work out of my pride, because I felt like, oh, I can do it. I can do anything. I am woman, hear me roar kind of attitude. And so it was all good. It was all good that he brought me through that. But that season was extremely hard. So if you're a mama who is going through postpartum depression, or any feelings of like being discouraged
or inadequate
surrounding the way that you gave birth, please just know that your baby is born, and that's what matters. Your baby's here, and no matter how you give birth, it's still a transformative experience. And you are a good mama, no matter how you gave birth.
Not because you equipped yourself, but because the Lord equips you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, work through that with the Lord, and definitely don't feel like you're all alone in feeling that way. But also check out your vitamins.
Yeah. What we put into our body matters.
Yes, for sure. So that was just a very trying time. I mean, my husband and I got married, and then we got pregnant 2 months later. So we didn't have a long time or a long season. We also had, if you've listened to my testimony episode, you already know that we only dated and were engaged for a total of 4 months before we were married.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really know each other. We knew each other, but we didn't know each other that well.
Deeply.
Yeah. Before we even got married, and then we're pregnant, and then we go through like the year of pregnancy, and then we have this baby. So we were only married, we were 3 weeks before our first anniversary having a baby. And then now we've got to, like, there's just so much that was changing, and so many new factors going into this. And so by the time that we had our first baby, we were just like, whoa, like this last year was wild. I struggled in every way. I was anxious. We were so worried about sickness, and like our baby getting the flu or whatever it was. We were scared of something happening to him. We were now living apart from our family and from our friends and our support system. We didn't know anybody really where we had just moved. I just felt so alone in motherhood. And it wasn't long before we started making friends, but I was also what I would describe as a nap Nazi. I would not leave the house if it was anywhere close to his nap time. I would leave gatherings, leave parties, leave church even if it was nap time. We needed to go home. He needed to be in his bed. He needed to sleep mostly because I was so tired. I needed sleep. And that first experience of having sleeplessness it's insane. You really do feel like you're going to die.
Yeah.
You're not used to being woken up throughout the night. You really do feel like if I don't get some sleep, I'm gonna die. So as a new mom, there's just so many factors to take into account. And I was anxious, I was depressed, I was all the things. And I felt like I don't know what to do with these feelings, mostly because I felt guilty for having them. I felt like he deserves better than a mom who is going to be this anxious, this upset, this angry all the time. And so I hope that that's encouraging for moms listening to this, because you're not alone if that's where you are feeling. And it will get better.
Yeah.
It really will.
Yeah.
So then fast forward 10 months, 9 months, I get my cycle back and we want to try for our second baby because we want them pretty close together. So then we get pregnant, and 6 weeks later, I'm bleeding. And I don't know what's going on. It was so scary. I went to the hospital, and we didn't want to take our baby with us, and so I just went by myself, find out that I've miscarried our baby. And that was just such a hard thing to even really grasp. It was so difficult. Yeah. And it's hard to even really I guess the only thing that brings you comfort in that is knowing that that baby went straight to heaven, and they had a heartbeat and then they were gone. Because that's a lot of the arguments that I've heard surrounding that has been very painful. And so I hope that there's moms listening to this that have also experienced that. You can get some really awful comments. I had a friend tell me that I shouldn't feel the way that I felt. Like, I shouldn't feel grief because it was only 6 weeks old. And I remember that being extremely painful. And what they call that is, so you get a positive pregnancy test, but it's before your ultrasound. So they call it a chemical pregnancy.
Yes, I've heard of that.
And it's such a sterile term, because what's the chemical that gives you a positive pregnancy test? It's a baby.
It's a baby.
And so people hear that term and they think, oh, well, it was just nothing. Well, that's the same logic that leads to thinking that it's okay to abort a baby at 6 weeks, right? And so, that's a very painful thing. Any time that you have a miscarriage is painful. It's grieving for what could have been, right?
Yeah.
But
what was,
yeah.
But also there's this gray area that is hard to wrap your head around, because it could have been, but it was, but it is, but it isn't. And there's, especially when it's that early on of a miscarriage, there's this piece of you that I can imagine is guilty for feeling grief.
Yeah, because there's moms out there that lose their baby at 25 weeks or 30 weeks. So there's this feeling of like, well, it wasn't like, you couldn't detect a heartbeat yet.
Yeah.
So was it really, like, there's just so much surrounding that I feel like there's not a lot of compassion or empathy from those around you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like, well, at least it didn't happen later, you know? Get over it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope if there's moms hearing this, that they feel validated in feeling their grief.
Yeah.
Of course you can grieve. Every baby deserves to be grieved for, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't mean to interrupt you there, but I have something that kind of pulls in a little bit further. In Old Testament historical timeline, it was understood that when a woman receives her period, her body is grieving the pregnancy that never came.
Mm.
They acknowledged grief prior to conception.
Mm.
They acknowledged the grief that your body goes through because of what didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are in modern day trying to invalidate a grief for a baby that was, when in history there was more empathy on a woman's body and what it goes through. And it's not just your body, it's your mind, it's your spirit. It's hard for us to see without context when we read through that if a woman is bleeding, she is not allowed in the church.
Mm-hmm.
We think that is an act of segregation, that is demeaning to a woman. But what's really happening there is they are allowing you to separate yourself from society to process the grief of what never happened because your body is ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to wake up to the reality that we've taken it so far that now we're not allowing mothers to grieve for the baby that was, not just what would have been.
And we can take it a step further and say now with the invention of birth control, we are actually taking away our body's ability to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even letting go of that
anymore.
It's not cycling the way that God created it to. You have, in some ways, taken away your natural ability to allow your body that time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we went through that, and praise Jesus, the very next month, we got pregnant with our second little boy. And it was right before COVID happened. And we were in a pretty small town in Oregon, but Oregon was going crazy. I mean, they were bonkers.
Yeah.
And so we were hearing all these horror stories about women having to labor with a mask on. And I was literally having panic attacks even thinking about that, because I was putting myself back in the shoes with my first labor. And I was like, if they put a mask on me, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot go through that with a mask on. Then we were also hearing stories about dads not being able to be in the room. And I was like, I can't do it without him.
Yeah.
All of that there was just so much fear surrounding it. And my friend actually, she has 7 kids. But I called her and I was like, hey, you had a lot of natural births. Can you tell me about that experience? This was not in my mind at all to ever do a home birth. I would probably have not even looked into it had COVID-19 not happened.
Wow.
But I just asked her opinion. And this was also my mindset. I was seeing a OBGYN at the hospital in our town. And she was fine, but I wasn't like real crazy about her. But my mindset was like, okay, my last OBGYN, I literally saw her for like 10 minutes at the end of my delivery. They're not really a part of it. And so that would be my one critique about OBGYNs, if you're going that route, is like they're in the room to catch the baby. That's literally the only time that they're involved. And so when I didn't really love my OBGYN at this hospital, I was kind of like, well, she's not even really going to be a part of it. So, who cares kind of thing. But then I asked my friend what her experience was with having natural births, and she was like, it was amazing. Like the best experience you would ever have. So it's like, okay, well, I think I was 27 weeks or something. So we only had 13 weeks really left in my pregnancy. And so I called the midwife that had delivered her babies, and she was 2 hours from my house. And so I was like, I'm at 27 weeks. Is this too late to kind of switch to you? And she was like, oh no. She's like, how about I just meet you halfway at one of her other clients' houses, and we can do your appointments there when I go to see her, and then for the birth you can come to me, kind of thing. And I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, this is weird.
This feels underground.
Yeah. And so we started doing that at 25 weeks, and then I started getting like I always have really crazy Braxton Hicks contractions, which are like fake contractions. Towards the end of my pregnancies, I have them like from basically 30 weeks on. It's just like constant, and they're very annoying. But what I didn't know is they're not real contractions. You'll know real contractions, trust me. But this started at like 38 weeks. And so we were 2 weeks from the due date, and I was like, man, we have a 2-hour drive. My first labor was only 4.5 hours. But I was like, I don't even know what to expect because I'm not being induced. So I don't know if it's going to be faster or slower, what's going to happen. So we decided to go up there 2 weeks early. And I ended up being there for 4 full weeks because my baby didn't come until 2 weeks later. But I was there.
Where is there? Clarify that.
Okay, so we were living in Burns, Oregon at this time. My midwife was in Baker City, which is 2 hours, 2.5 hours away. Baker City's where I grew up. That's my hometown. So I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Like I'll get to go see my friends, and we'll get to kind of hang out for 2 weeks, and it'll be great. So we went up there 2 weeks early. I was having all these Braxton Hicks contractions. I had some pretty intense ones, enough in the middle of the night that I called my husband. He stayed in Burns because he had to work, and he was just going to come up as soon as I knew I was in labor. Well, I called him 3 different times in the middle of the night because I thought I was in labor. And he came up 3 different times, and it ended up being false labor. And it was so frustrating for me, but I was like, I don't want you to miss it if it's real. I didn't end up going into labor until he decided he was just going to stay. And I think he decided he was going to stay, and he was there one night, and then I went into labor. So I think it was partly my body being reactionary to him also. But anyway, so I went into labor, called my midwife. She actually had 3 babies on the same night. So she was at somebody else's house, gave birth to that baby, or that baby got born. And then she came to my house. My water broke, and then contractions started pretty intensely right away. Luckily, we had a birth tub filled up downstairs in the Airbnb that we were staying in. And we went downstairs. Literally, I had an 1.5 hour labor, and he was born. But the one thing that I will say about this labor, I was about to push, and I was like, there's no way that I'm ready to push yet. because of the difference between my first and second like the levels of contractions. I was at the point where I was about to push him out, and I was like, this is not even, there's no way that we are at the end. Like, I never got to the point where I was like, I can't do this, because it was so different from the Pitocin contractions. So I just wanted to say that, because if you're a mom who feels like, well, I couldn't do it the first time because I was induced or whatever. And I also believe that your first labor is probably the hardest out.
That's what I've heard
I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Your body's never opened up like that. You have never gone through you don't even know what to expect at that point. You can't really even start to condition your mind, because you don't even know what it's going to be like. So, the second birth was so redeeming. It was just such an amazing experience. And the one thing that I feel like with midwives is they're a part of it the whole time. They have an assistant with them too, but like they're there for you. So you go through your pregnancy seeing this one person, and then they're there for the birth, and you feel like you built a relationship with them. It's just so much more. It's so much sweeter. I want
to unpack that a little bit more, because for me, I have been in the room for hospital births. I have been in the room for home births now because of you. And so I've seen both sides, and it's given me great perspective for what I want when it's my turn. I have always had a curiosity about home birth, but it feels impossible because of how uncommon it is. So I want to dive a little deeper into what are your appointments like with a midwife? Let's uncover a little bit of the mystery.
Yeah.
Because it's not uncommon for those who have no experience with this to think a midwife is a witch.
Yeah.
So let's unpack some of the mystery here on a midwife and her process.
Yeah.
And what that looks like from you as a pregnant mom.
Yeah. So it's actually, it's a really, I don't want to say funny. It's kind of funny in some ways. But I almost feel like it's a ploy of the medical system to make you think that pregnancy is a medical emergency. People have been reproducing and having babies for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been up until maybe the last 70, 80 that we've been having babies in a hospital.
Yeah.
Labor and delivery is not a medical emergency. Yes, there are scary situations that arise. And yes, some infant mortality has been negated because of having hospitals, of course. But it is not a medical emergency. And so having babies in a home was just the norm for so long, up until recently. And now, because it's been propagated that this is like what you do. You have to have your baby in a hospital, or otherwise they're going to die. That's kind of been planted in our brains, and that's how we think of it.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you have a low-risk pregnancy, everything's been healthy, you've been healthy, there's really not a lot of risk. Yes, there are crazy, scary things that can happen, like happened with Rossi. But I had a medical professional there.
Yeah.
A midwife is not somebody that comes out to your house with sage and burns, incense and is singing Kumbaya. I don't know what you think a midwife is.
That's how the world paints it,
Yes. No, she's a nurse that went to school, that knows how to resuscitate a newborn, knows all of the positions to put you in to help you through your labor. She's the real deal. I mean, she knows her stuff. And so and can perform life-saving, I mean, anything you can do in a hospital besides C-section, which you wouldn't want to have happen at home anyway, she can do.
Mm-hmm.
She brings all of the medical equipment. You have all of that. So that's just to preface your question.
Yeah.
But
that nails it on the head, the setting the stage for that.
Yeah. So for me, I've had two different midwives now. My midwife here, she delivered both my girls. But the midwife that delivered my little boy, it was like I met her at one of her other clients' houses. Her other client had like 8 kids, and so she was like, "Yeah, just come on in. Like, you guys can do your appointment at my house," kind of thing. She tests your urine just like you do at a hospital. And make sure that, you know, all of that looks good. She tests for everything that you would do in a hospital setting. And then takes your blood pressure, your temperature, all the things that they do at a hospital setting. She actually had like a mobile little ultrasound that she brought with her a couple times, and I was able to see baby. So that was not an issue. Like, it was across the board, all the same things that you would do at a hospital when you go to your appointments. The midwife here, she actually has a birthing center in her home. She turned her master bedroom and bathroom into a birth center. So you can come to her house if you want to. That's actually where I had my oldest little girl. And so I would go to her house for appointments, and it would be the exact same situation. Listen to baby's heartbeat, all of that. And then if I so chose, I could have my baby at her house. This last time I chose to have my baby at my house. And so she came to my house, and it was the exact same thing. She brings her mobile, all of her stuff with her. She actually sent a whole birth kit home with me just in case she didn't make it on time, kind of thing. So you have all of the equipment with you if need be.
To get started, not to do it all alone.
No, she's on her way, for sure. But yeah, if you needed, you had all that equipment, and then she got there. With Rossi, she got there on time, and everything was just, I mean, everything was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so all of these, my last 3 births. So my little boy was an hour and a half. My little girl was an hour and a half. We had a 20-minute drive from my house to my midwife's house. And my husband, when he comes on, we're gonna have to tell the story. But yeah, he was joking with me the whole drive to her house. And I'm like deep in labor and trying to breathe through contractions, and he's like, "Oh, there's a truck for sale. Should we stop and look and see how much they want for it?" And I'm just like, "Dude, I'm gonna kill you."
You're not funny to me right now.
But we got there 20 minutes after we got there, baby was born.
Yeah.
And so that was just a beautiful, I mean, just picture perfect birth. And then we know Rossi's birth story. If you haven't heard that episode, I'll just recap it for you. But Rossi, I went into labor with Rossi, texted my midwife. As soon as I sent that text, I had no more contractions. And I was like, shoot, she's on her way. She had an hour and a half drive. And so I was worried that she wasn't going to make it. But then I also didn't want her to come for no reason. And so it was just like this game of, you know, playing like, oh, I don't know when to text you kind of thing. Did not have another contraction until she got to my house. And she came in, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. You would think I would have this figured out by baby number 4. And she was like, "Well, go snuggle with your husband. Maybe contractions will pick back up." So I went and snuggled with him. Water breaks all over the bed. And so I got in the tub, literally just contracted. We had soft music playing. It was just beautiful. And my number one prayer for this labor and delivery was to be able to be present, because like I said, you go into this like primal part in your body where you're almost out of your body. Like you just everything's fuzzy, everything's like really intense. You're like really focused on what's going on. And I was praying to the Lord that I could just have this experience where I could remember everything and like be present.
Yeah.
He answered that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
While contractions were still intense, in between contractions, I was able to actually look at my husband, talk with him.
Yeah.
We were able to like kind of banter and goof off and joke back and forth. And then it would go, another contraction would come, and I would go, deep into myself again, and then it was back out. It was the coolest experience I have ever been a part of. He answered every single prayer surrounding that. And one thing that I will say about contractions, because we hear all these horror stories about, labor just being this awful, intense, terrible experience.
You associate it with screaming.
Yeah. Like it is just get me out of here type experience. Hold on just one second. And it does not have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. Literally, contractions or labor is something happening to your body. Your body is doing what it's supposed to do. Labor for your brain and for you physically is literally just getting out of your own body's way. So with my first pregnancy and with my first labor, I would feel a contraction coming on and I would tense up, and it was just like this.
Get me out of this. Yeah.
You're literally working against what your body's trying to do. You're tensing everything up. A baby can't come through something that's so tensed up. So literally what I've found and how I picture it in labor is letting go. Everything's releasing. I am like even my face is not tense. I have to just let everything relax. And you're literally just trying to not fight your own body. Your body's just like everything has to just go.
Yeah.
And it takes so much of relying on the Lord to do that and to really just relax.
Yeah.
And while I can't say that I've ever had a pain-free birth, I know some people use that expression. That was not my experience, but it is a peaceful birth experience. I've had 3 of them now.
Yeah.
Where it's just like this ease of just like, okay, my body is doing what it needs to do. I just need to let it do it, you know? And I've had 2 births that were an hour and a half, and then my 4th birth was like 3 hours, I think. And she ended up being really wrapped up in her cord, like multiple wraps. She was really active in there. And when it was time to push her out, I knew that like I felt like I needed to push. But once I started pushing, it felt like she was sideways, and it was because she was all wrapped up in her cord. So it was extremely painful pushing. That was the only birth that I felt that much pain pushing. But her cord was actually wrapped around her neck multiple times, around her shoulder, and around her body. And so when I was pushing, the cord on her shoulder got pinched between my pelvis and her shoulder. And so it was cutting off all oxygen, which some people, I've heard them be like, well, why are you so against hospital births? Like that, nothing, that wouldn't have happened if you were in hospital. Yeah, it would have. It was not an avoidable thing.
Yeah.
she was just wrapped up. And so it only took 5 minutes to push her out, which is just absolutely a testament to God. Like, thank you so much, Lord, for having that go so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, some people push for 20, 30 minutes. I mean, it can be a long process. And so this was just a really fast, like, pushing stage.
Yeah.
And pushed her right out. And she had been without oxygen for the 5 minutes that I was pushing her out. And so she was instantly in major shock.
Mm.
She came out kind of moving around, but very quickly went totally still. And so I knew something was wrong, but my midwife had kind of prepared me that there was meconium in the amniotic fluid. So we thought that she might need some suction. She might need some help breathing. So my midwife was like, this is what's going to happen as soon as she's born. I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to, pull out the stuff that's in her lungs so that she can start to breathe. So I was prepared for that. But then she started giving her breaths.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had like this little pump machine where she would put it over baby's mouth and then she would press and it would like give little puffs of air. I guess it was just instinct because I'm holding this baby and I pushed on the back of her head. And my midwife later thanked me for doing that because she said, you don't realize most moms will not like help in that situation. It feels like very I mean, you're just in shock.
It's
in
a fight or
way.
flight, right?
Yeah.
There's a freeze moment, and sometimes that's not conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was holding the back of her head while my midwife's giving these puffs of air, and this went on for 7 minutes. For 7 minutes, she was working on her, trying to revive her. Meanwhile, I'm not sure what's going on exactly. But I know this has not happened in the history of me having babies. Like, this is definitely different. So in that moment, I'm like, oh, are we losing our baby? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
What's happening? Luckily, she just kept working, and my midwife is a gift from God. Mm-hmm. Like, she really is. She's so so confident.
Yeah.
That she didn't really give off a lot of fear.
Yeah.
It was like she was just doing what she knew to do.
I would say the urgency increased in her, but it wasn't a panic at all. It wasn't fretful.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so later she told me that this has only happened twice in the history of her being a midwife. I think she's been a midwife for like 20-something years. If I'm not mistaken. Melanie, I'm sorry if that number's wrong. But she said one baby, she had to continue this revival for 20 minutes. Mm. And I can't even imagine because this 7 minutes felt like an eternity. Yeah. I can't imagine trying to do that for 20 full minutes on a baby. She said this baby went on to be totally fine, totally normal. Yeah. Like everything was great. But yeah, it was quite the experience. But even in that, and I think especially in that, the Lord has grown my thankfulness so much. This baby, I'm sorry to say, she's kind of getting spoiled, but I hold her all the time because I'm just like, you could have not been. Yeah. Like, it's just it's increased not only my thankfulness for her, but also I guess my realizing how fragile life is and how it can be so different so quickly. Yeah. And things could change in the blink of an eye, and that life is just a gift. It really is. So yeah, it's just those are my birth stories. Yeah. I didn't get too much into Fallon's because it
felt normal.
Yeah, she was just like here all of a sudden. But yeah, pregnancy and motherhood has changed me in ways that I could not be more thankful for.
Yeah.
I went from being the nap Nazi to totally, like, the Lord has just taken so much of that anxiety and so much of that control. Like, I have to control everything from me through motherhood.
It's so hard for me to visualize you being that way because I didn't get to experience you in that state with Brim. So it's so difficult for me to even visualize that could be possible when I see the way that you mom now.
Yeah.
Because you just have this ease to you. So to think that it could be so different just feels so unnatural compared to where you are.
We'll have to interview my husband about the craziness that the first motherhood experience was. But the Lord has changed me in such unbelievable ways.
Yeah.
And I could not be more thankful for him just transforming. I think that's why he gave me 4 children back to back. It's because he knew that there was so much that needed to, so much undoing that needed to happen.
He was like, wham, bam, bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I have 2 things that I want to briefly cover with you for the curious mom.
Yeah.
Trying to get away from Western medicine. Or am I saying that right? My brain just like shut off.
Western medicine.
Yeah,
You're
Western
right.
medicine. That's what I'm trying to say. Modern medicine, whatever. Okay. And I don't like go into detail or whatever, but I've told a few of my close friends and some close family members, I got to be part of a home birth. And it like blows their brain when they first say that, right? And I don't like tell them a whole lot other than it being amazing. And it being a reason why my heart has shifted into a true knowing that that's what I want for myself. And it's not that like my mind was changed. It's that I see the flaws of hospital birth and how traumatic and how that being the very first experience of a baby into this world and just thinking like, why does it have to be that way? And then seeing an option that isn't that way and going, okay, this is worth exploring. So getting to experience it firsthand was just such a gift. So thank you for allowing that.
I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Amazing. But when I do recall pieces that are like the most important to help maybe another future mom to think about this being a possibility, I get the same reaction. A baby in a bathtub?
Yeah.
People go, what? Give me a little medical perspective.
Yeah.
For the mom who is like a baby in a bathtub. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do not have to have a home birth in a bathtub. There are other options. You can have your baby in your bed. They give you all the things to waterproof your bed so it's not messy. And by the way, midwives have got to be the best at cleaning up. Like, they are just absolutely incredible. You would never know that they were in your home after they're gone. They're so great. But water birth is, it's called the midwife's epidural because water, the heat and the relaxation of a bath actually acts as like a pain suppressant. It's incredible. You can totally tell the difference being outside the tub and contracting. Once you get in the tub, it's like, oh, this is like the best.
Yeah.
So when you have a water birth, actually, if you're GBS positive, which is like group B strep, it's a very common bacteria that can be, in the vagina, that is not dangerous at all for mom, but it can be dangerous for baby. But having your baby in the bathtub actually takes down the risk of that
like
a lot.
Dilutes the bacteria. That makes sense.
You still, like I said, not medical advice, but if you're tested positive for that, like you're pretty good. You're pretty, your chances of your baby getting it is pretty low when you have your baby in the bath. then the other thing is your baby comes out of water into water.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a easier transition for baby, because it's not so much like I'm now in dry air, like what is happening? It's like a lot more methodical transition. So those are the 3 reasons. I was tested positive for Group B strep with my first baby. I didn't test after that, which not medical advice. Get tested if you feel like you need to. But I took some natural antibiotics, just, herbs, to help negate the risk of that. And I haven't had any issues. So, didn't get tested for that any other time. But, yeah, I loved the water birth. It just knocked down the intensity that much more. So I've had 3 water births now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it any other way. It was amazing. Yeah.
I feel more and more that that's the route I want to go. When you actually look into the whys around a traditional birth, they're quite appalling, some of them. One of them being, why do we expect women to give birth on their back?
Yeah.
It actually has nothing to do with it being a proper position for giving birth. It's actually the worst position you can give birth in. It's because a king, I can't remember which king, but a long ago king had a really icky fetish when it came to birth and wanted a more line of sight.
Really? I did not know that. Yeah. I knew the medical reasoning behind it is like, it's just more convenient for a doctor.
That's where it started.
That's crazy.
Isn't that horrible?
Yeah, that's nasty.
So let's uncover a little bit more, do your own research. But yes, the other piece that I want to cover with you is the financial aspect.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable, I would like us to uncover the mystery of the financials when switching from a traditional hospital birth to a midwife.
Yeah. So my first birth was $32,000. My second, third, and fourth birth were $6,000 from start to finish for everything.
Including first appointment all the way to birth.
Yes. It's, and the level of care that you get with a midwife versus a hospital is unreal. I think I had every appointment that I had with my OB was maybe 15 minutes with her in the room. Maybe. Most of the time it was like, let's listen to the baby's heartbeat. The nurse did everything else. They took your blood pressure. They tested the pee. They did all the other things. So the doctor would literally walk in, listen to baby's heartbeat. Do you have any questions? Okay, see you next time.
Yeah.
With a midwife, you literally have an hour appointment. You can sit there and talk with her about anything, any issues, any worries, anything. So the level of care between the two is like just unreal. Not to mention you're paying a heck of a lot more for less care.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. And the friendship that you form with your midwife, the very intimate details that you talk about it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they get to be a part of that. And yeah, it's great.
That's amazing. Yeah. For those of you who choose Western medicine and that's where you feel most confident, you're not wrong.
Not at all.
We are all allowed to form our own conclusions based on our own individual research. And so we hope that this just expands your knowledge on another avenue.
Yeah.
That you explore. I encourage you to at least explore so that way you have given all the options consideration.
Yeah.
And then your decision is your decision. So this is not to shame
Not at all.
any mom who goes through a very traditional birth, an epidural, all the things, and not to shame the mom who wants to have the other end of the spectrum, and there's everything in between as well. So,
For sure.
Yeah, we can only learn off of other people's experiences and our own research, and that's what today provides.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just wanted to come on and share my experience because prior to COVID, I would have probably done all of my babies traditionally in a hospital. And I'm just so thankful that my perspective was widened and that I was able to do this a different way, because later on I would love to be a midwife. I would love to be a doula at the very least and help with other people's births, because birth is incredible. It is the coolest thing to be a part of. I mean, just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And I'm so thankful that I was able to experience that naturally in my own home, apart from the whole stigma of babies having to be born in a hospital. I heard that from a lot of family members, that I was irresponsible, that
You're
I was
putting
that
your
my
baby in
was,
danger.
Yeah, that it's such a high risk. How could you even think about doing that? You might have to block out some of that, but it really has been just the most amazing experience. And to have a baby and then be able to crawl in your own bed is wonderful.
I want to remind our hearts and our audience's hearts that the command is to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
Multiplication is the fruit. We are being obedient by saying yes to that. And we get to hear every perspective of each part of birth from a woman in this conversation, which I'm just so grateful that the Lord would bring in, because we have abortion, infertility, miscarriage, and successful birth all in one room right now amongst two people. And that is just amazing. And so I hope you're not thinking that we are one-sided here. But we can truly sit with a command, the command to be fruitful and multiply, the first command given to the human race, and understand in its entirety that it is a command worth obeying because it's of the Lord, and that children are the fruit that is the blessing on the other side of that obedience.
Yeah, and let's create a culture that looks at babies as the blessing that they are. Let's be countercultural in that, because we look at Israel, and literally they measured success.
Start that sentence over.
Literally, they measured success based on how many kids they had. Let's get back to that.
Yeah.
It's not a quantity thing. You don't have to have a lot of kids to be blessed. But I do think that be fruitful and multiply kind of insinuates that you do. You have a family. You have a big family. It's not really our decision, in my opinion. God, that's a command.
Yeah.
And if we're going to walk in obedience, we got to follow the commands of the Lord. And we will be blessed because of it. Yeah. So let's pray. Oh, Lord, we just thank you for this conversation. We thank you for, just an opportunity to talk about something that shouldn't be countercultural, but it surely is. Lord, we thank you for your hand in knitting babies together in their mother's womb and bringing them forth. Lord, into this world. What a miracle life is. Lord, we just thank you for the blessing that kids are. We thank you for just everything that we've talked about in this episode. And Lord, I just pray that you would just help us to know your heart around children, your heart around building a family. Lord, there's so much blessing in following your commands and being obedient. And Lord, I just pray that each and every audience member and both of us in this room would just grasp the blessing behind that. Lord, I pray over Kate's family and her future. I pray that you would just bless her with a baby. And Lord, I pray over everyone who might be listening to this experiencing infertility, that you'd give them what their hearts desire, Lord, because it is a good desire. It's a desire that's natural, that comes from you. So Lord, I just pray. I pray that you would touch these women's bodies, and that you would heal them, and that you would open their womb. We love you, Lord, and we praise you. We thank you. Oh, Lord, we just thank you for all the blessings in our lives. Help us to follow after you. In your name, amen.
Amen. Well, thank you guys. We love you.
Love you.
See you soon.